Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I want to talk about some nitrile gloves, specifically these snap-on ones right here. And I have these Milwaukee ones out as well, just for kind of a reference or comparison. I did a video a little while ago where I did a mini tool haul from a snap-on truck. While I was on there, I saw these gloves right here, and it was kind of an impulse purchase. This is the model number right here, and then these are for the extra large. So, different sizes are going to have a different model number here at the end. This one comes with 6 pairs, 3 red and 3 black. But the palm on all of these are going to be black, which is kind of the main thing I wanted. I was looking for non-disposable gloves that I could use, especially when I'm working on something that needs to be grippy or is a bit dirty. As a side note, I used to use these guys right here. They're the ones you can get from, I think it's Walmart. You get about 10 of these, so 5 pairs for about 10 or 15 bucks. Where they are very, very grippy, but kind of like a smooth grippy, if that's a thing, versus these ones have kind of more of a fine sandpaper type of feel to them. So the Milwaukees are kind of my go-tos. They're about $5 at Home Depot for just a pair, and a little bit cheaper if you buy them in like a 10-pack, which is what I typically end up doing for my gutter business. But these snap-on ones, I decided to pick them up. Like I said, it's about twice the price at $10 a pair. And honestly, I can't really tell much of a difference. I have been using both of these kind of interchangeably, and sometimes I even use them like this, where I have one on each hand, just to see am I feeling anything different. And they feel very, very similar. You can even kind of tell from the lighting in the video here that the texture looks very, very close. Even if if I'm doing this, where you can kind of hear, I mean, it's very, very similar. The one real difference I did kind of notice is the snap-on fit is a little bit better. But again, because of sizing, this may or may not be the same for you. But, this right here goes all the way, it fits my finger perfectly. Where on the Milwaukees, there's kind of a little bit of a gap still right here, where it might have been better off if I would have gotten a slightly larger size, but I think those would be a little bit too big. So that's one thing, your mileage may vary when it comes to the sizing, but that is one thing that I noticed, so that's kind of nice. And the other thing I noticed is that the wrist portion, kind of where it is on the cuff here, is a little bit longer on the snap-on. So if your goal is to kind of protect your wrist a little bit more, these snap-on ones definitely are going to be a little bit longer. As far as specs are concerned, they are pretty much the same. Again, both of these are going to be extra large. They are both an ANSI. Oops, sorry about that. They're both ANSI A1 rated, and they seem to function almost identical, like I said. And then both of these also have the touchscreen ability. So if if you have your phone on you, or an iPad or tablet or whatever, you can use that without having to take off the gloves, which is always a nice feature. The other thing, which is just purely cosmetic, is obviously the snap-on just has that nice, kind of snap-on logo on the front here, with no other writing, and all the specs are, on the inside of the wrist, where the Milwaukee has, all that writing and specs and stuff, right here. So it looks a little bit kind of crowded on there. Again, doesn't affect functionality at all, just more of a style preference. I definitely think that these ones look a little bit more professional, just because of that. But again, doesn't really matter, because these are kind of my go-tos on a day-to-day anyways. So would I recommend the snap-on ones versus the Milwaukee? Honestly, they're about the same to me. And like I said, if you're looking at just purely retail pricing, the snap-on is going to be twice the price to get, and you're kind of forced to buy them in a 6-pack, and you have to get the colors that they show, which usually not that big of a deal. But again, fit and feel and all that kind of stuff is so close that for twice the price, I don't think it necessarily makes sense. Unless, if you're a really big fan of Snap-on, which, I am. I like Snap-on, but I also like, Harbor Freight. For me, everything, that in between works well for me. But, I don't mind having a Snap-on logo on something that I'm wearing. And, am I willing to pay twice the price for that? I mean, I guess I was for these. But would I do it again? I mean, probably not. I mean, hopefully these will last me quite a while, but in general, I'm probably going to find myself grabbing the Milwaukees more often, just because they're cheaper. And with something like this, I don't believe there's any kind of real warranty on there. They're just designed as disposable. So, once you're out of this, are you going to go and spend another $60 to get 6 more pairs, or are you going to spend 30 or less and get the Milwaukees? Personally, I'll probably end up getting the Milwaukees, more often than not. But, you know, I don't mind having these. So the answer really, if I recommend these or not, you know, if you're willing to spend twice the price for this logo, then go for it. You know, why not? If not, if all you care about is functionality, then I would stick with the Milwaukees. So, you know, tell me what you guys think. You know, please leave in the comments below. Is it worth twice the price just to have that logo? Or would you go with this kind of, you know, all day long? And, you know, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.